and welcome to a special Middle East business report coming to you from the United Arab Emirates. I'm Nima Abu Arde, and here's what's coming up on the programme. Wanted for war crimes. So why was Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir at the region's largest arms fair? Breaking down the barriers, the new initiative to boost the rights of Emirati women in the workforce. Blue Sky Thinking, an expert's guide to the UAE's most original architecture. And Recipe for Success. Algerian restaurateur Murad Mazouz opens up a new venture in Dubai and shares his tricks of the trade.
I always say to my staff, it's a theater. 7 o'clock, the curtain open. Hello, good evening, and you take care of people. And at 2 o'clock, we close the curtain, we sit.
But first, Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir, who is subject to arrest warrants for genocide and crimes against humanity, rubbed shoulders with the UAE sheikhs this week at IDEX, the biennial military exhibition. It's the first major weapons fair to be held in this region since the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty entered into force. Now, the treaty aims to restrict the sale of weapons to countries with questionable human rights records like Sudan. But is it having any effect? Howard Johnson takes up the story.
A mock-up of a terror attack in Abu Dhabi. Part of the opening ceremony of the United Arab Emirates Arms Fair, IDEX 2015. In attendance, military and state dignitaries from all over the world. But pride of place next to Sheikh Mohammed, ruler of Dubai, is given to President Omar al-Bashir of Sudan. He's wanted by the International Criminal Court for genocide and war crimes committed in Darfur. Allegations he refutes.
IDEX is the largest military exhibition in the Middle East. This year it's host to 1,000 exhibitors from more than 55 different countries. But what makes this year significant is it's the first arms fair to be held in the region since the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty entered into force.
The Arms Trade Treaty aims to limit the sale of weapons to countries with questionable human rights records like Sudan's. It does this by establishing arms control systems to monitor the movement of weapons like handguns, artillery, tanks and helicopters. Attending IDEX alongside President al-Bashir was Sudan's Defense Minister Abdul Rahim Mohammed Hussein. Hussein is accused of recruiting, arming and funding the Janjaweed militia in Darfur. I asked the general if it was now harder for Sudan to buy weapons because of the Arms Trade Treaty.
From where?
From other countries because they might believe that you have a questionable human rights record.
No, we don't have any problem. Yeah. We don't have a problem. We have some problem.
No problem.
We have problem with the Western country, but not with other countries.
So no problem buying weapons from other countries
Yes,
after the Arms Trade Treaty?
I don't think we don't have. We are just like any other country.
And with weapons being supplied to Sudan by non-signatories like China, Russia and Iran, the general could be right. So how are the weapons being used?
When weapons arrive in Khartoum or in Port Sudan, then Sudan will bring them to the regions where they want to use them. And those are the south of Sudan and sometimes even in southern Sudan, in the other country where they're not supposed to be, of course. And of course, very important, they are also shipped towards Darfur, where there is still an ongoing conflict. And in that case, that would be against United Nations arms embargo, which prohibits, which clearly says that no one is supposed to supply weapons into Darfur, not even Sudan.
The Stockholm Peace Institute also say that weapons manufactured in Khartoum have been found in South Sudan. Sudan's Military Industry Corporation produces weapons based on technology from its supplier countries. I asked its spokesman about allegations its weapons were being used in its neighbour's civil war.
I refute these allegations and nonsense for us because, but we do real investigations and we found that it is not ours. You know, you can do everything to put the logos or to put some serial numbers or so, but at the end of the day, we don't use these weapons for any harming or any violations we straightforward according to the law, according to the international standards.
News of the Sudanese delegation's attendance at IDEX drew immediate criticism from human rights groups.
I think it's a very worrying sign that the Sudanese have a delegation at IDEX, given Sudan's appalling human rights record and the problems that Sudan has had with the transfer of weapons to neighbouring states such as South Sudan and the Central African Republic.
IDEX organisers turned down an interview request. But if the exhibition is anything to go by, the Arms Trade Treaty has a long way to go before it can have any sway on countries like Sudan.
Howard Johnson reporting there. Now, this month, the UAE said it'll set up a Gender Balance Council to promote equality and opportunities for women in the workforce. Now, despite the fact that more Emirati women than men graduate from universities in this country, their participation in the workforce is limited by social and legal boundaries. So can this new initiative make a difference? Anna Naguib has been finding out.
In the UAE, more than 60% of women are college graduates, but their participation in the workforce remains lower than men. In a recent survey done by research company Mercer, companies were asked why women are not taking stronger roles. Khaled Al-Turk says it's not education that keeps women away, it's cultural and organizational aspects that needs to be addressed.
Many of them feel that clients or customers that they serve don't perceive women as someone who could bring added value to their business. And other reasons that were stated were that, unfortunately, here in the Middle East, we see a lot of the business deals happening in what we call the majlises, or informal networks. And unfortunately, a lot of women are not invited to these majlises.
And it's the lack of informal networks for women and their huge wealth that encouraged Elisa Freha to start Wamina, a platform that aims to empower and educate women on investment opportunities.
Wamina was created to focus specifically on the women investors because we saw that about 1/5 of the region's wealth was in the hands of women. And currently they're only being told to put that capital into luxury goods and cosmetics. And what we're telling them is to get involved in their communities and use their capital in a different way, in a more impactful way.
But a lot of women here are taking matters in their own hands and starting their businesses to prove themselves. Emirati mother of 3, Budur Al-Qubaisi, decided to do more with her life than just a government job. So she opened an Emirati coffee house that sells traditional food.
Since I was in the university, I was looking forward to graduate and join the workforce to serve my country and give back. I wanted to do something that I'm passionate about as well, and I wanted my kids to look up to their mother.
Farah Al-Qaisiyya, founder of Discover Dhabi, a mobile application that helps promote tourism, agrees with Budur that it's up to a woman to decide and go out to prove herself.
The government is doing everything that it can, everything in its power to empower, enrich, and support women. The challenge comes, the internal battle that women face in general. I want to go and fulfill my career, my dreams, my ambitions, but at the same time, I'm afraid that might risk my opportunity or my commitment to my family. Let's say if someone's a mother, if a lady's a mother, if she has to spend 8 hours in the office and miss out on time with her kids, that might be a very difficult challenge.
A challenge that Emirati lawyer Diana Hamadi was willing to take when she started her law firm 8 years ago. She believes that real change will happen when the laws start to empower women.
I have all respect for our leadership. It is just amazing to see these women in these flourishing positions. However, and as a lawyer, I still have to deal on a daily basis sometimes with cases that involve women who are being challenged. We have certain laws that still have provisions that unfortunately are still discriminatory against women. The one that I'm always very bothered with is Provision 72 of Personal Status Law 2005, where it states that a woman should leave her house when necessary, and then again it leaves it to the husband to decide whether his wife is leaving the house for a good reason, and that he could deter her from leaving, which means that if she goes to work, she has to leave somehow. The way the law is put as in regard to many aspects that are so much women's rights. It's something that I would really love in my lifetime to see changed.
In the Middle East, the UAE has come a long way in empowering women, but challenges in the laws and society remain ahead of these young students to reach new horizons.
Ala Naguib reporting there. Right, we're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, blue sky thinking. We get an architect's lowdown on the 3 buildings that excite him most here in the United Arab Emirates. Welcome back to a special Middle East business report from the United Arab Emirates. I'm Nima Abu Warde. Now, Algerian-born Murad Mazouz is perhaps best known for his London-based restaurants Sketch and Momo. Now, he's opening up a 3rd here in the UAE. He insists he's not a businessman, he's just a worker, and that money isn't important. So why is he opening up a 3rd restaurant here in Dubai? That's a question I put to Murad when I caught up with him at his latest venture, Almaz.
Why did I did it here? Because I just met a wonderful man who came to see me in England, who was so polite, so delicate, and I was very surprised by to meet someone like this. So I came here, and I thought he was working for a company, and actually he was from the head of a very good family here, and having I don't know how many thousands of brands, and I was surprised to see this humble man coming to me, so I said yes.
So it's purely gut? You're saying, if I like the sound of this person's name, I'll talk to them? I mean, how do you go about making your decisions?
I don't know. I meet people, alors, 2 or 3 proposals a month, okay, because those days everybody wants to do business. It's business everywhere, business. I don't want to be in a washing machine. I'm not interested. I am, in a way, but I don't want to be squeezed inside. So for me, it's again balance. I have enough. I don't do things compared to the time. I don't want to spend my time traveling on the plane and live in a hotel. That's not the life I want for myself. So I'm not doing it. Also, I cannot stand fighting with people arguing. That's something I cannot stand. I always say I'm like rats. If you don't squeeze me in a corner, because I will look even the little space to go away. If not, if I don't have any space, I will jump in on your neck. But I suppose, like any human being, I suppose. But voilà, I just want. I don't think. I do.
So what is it that makes your businesses successful? I mean, it is a notoriously difficult line of business to be in and to be successful in.
Every night, I'm looking, how was the night? I'm never asked how much we did. So I always say to my staff, it's a theater. 7 o'clock, the curtain open, hello, good evening, and you take care of people. And at 2 o'clock, we close the curtain, we sit, and we can talk about the night. And that's how I see it, as a stage.
But you've also got business sense. I mean, you might say to me, no, I like to create experiences and I love people. Fine, but you do have business sense. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here.
I'm a perfectionist. I'm sick to be a perfectionist. Actually, that's make me really unhappy. Look, Sketch in London. Who's going to invest every 2 years to redo Sketch? I redo most of the room every 2 years. Why? We don't have to. Just because I believe then I want to please people, so I want to give them new experience all the time. And I want to push the boundaries all the time. In here, the same. In that sense, I'm very pretentious. In GBR, on the line, I want to be the best.
You have been criticized, though, for the costs, the prices of meals in your latest restaurant in London.
But people criticize always for everything. I mean, actually, it's even worse with all these new blogs and everything. It's ridiculous. Everybody has something to say about everything, about something they even don't know. But doesn't matter. That doesn't stop me to do. I don't think. I don't even listen. All the newspaper and the critics and everything, I just do. We work, most of our staff work 10, 12, 15 hours a day. And we are in Sketch, for example, I have 220 people working there. We never stop. from the morning to the evening with the details everywhere. That costs a lot of money. So you need to bring in enough money to pay all that. So honestly, for me, at the end of the year, if I make 10 or 100, it's not my goal at all.
Algerian restaurateur Mourad Mazouz speaking to me there. Now, walking around Dubai, you can't help but notice the vast array of building works, but such is the breakneck speed of construction that sometimes truly innovative structures are overlooked. So we've asked a Dubai-based architect to choose 3 significant buildings and to talk us through what he thinks the future holds.
This is the Yas Viceroy Hotel. I've chosen this building because it really epitomizes what Abu Dhabi was doing at the time. Here it was going to be hosting its first Formula One event. Millions and millions of viewers all around the world would be looking at it and saying, what is Abu Dhabi capable of? What does Abu Dhabi represent? The complexity is all about this fantastic veil, this fantastic skin which sits above and connects the 2 buildings together. Made up of nearly 6,000 diamond patterned glass panels. The glass panels have micro dots on them made out of ceramic frit that actually bounces the sun back away from the building. The interior design itself is also quite spectacular in this building. The floor platen uses the linear snaking nature of the Grand Prix track. It's all about linearity, movement, flow. The panels along the walls are pattern orientated, so subtle references to Islamic pattern making, but still in a very contemporary way, which reflects again the Formula One, the modernity that comes with the sophisticated products such as this. The second building I want to talk about is the Capital Gate Tower in Abu Dhabi. This was designed by my firm, RMJM Architects and Planners. This building is probably best known for being in the Guinness Book of the Records for being the most leaning building in the world, 18 degrees, which is more than 4 times that of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The building doesn't truly lean, but it does a huge amount of work, structural work, in order to make it stand up. When something leans in that type of direction, you imagine leaning back. You can imagine your toes are trying to come off the ground, but your heels are pushing into the ground heavily. So on the one side, the foundations hold into the ground, and the other side, the foundations are pushing in, and there's this whole tension in the building right from the bottom on the foundations. We then built a core going up the middle of the building, which starts on the one side and ends on the other side. It is pre-cambered. What does that mean? It means it wasn't built completely vertical, it was built at a slight angle. That means as more and more floors were built leaning out on the one side, it pulls the core straight. Getting the movement right and putting the glass panel in at the right time so that it doesn't crack, so that it doesn't break, so that it actually fits, was all a feat of engineering which was pushing things beyond where they had ever been before. And finally, we're here at Siemens' new headquarters in Masdar City. The idea is to have a full new sustainable city right here in the desert. The entire master plan of over 6 square kilometers is set up on a specific orientation to try and encourage the wind flows back and forth between the buildings to keep the area cool. With the sun being the way it is here in the UAE and the heat transfer by direct sunlight, the facade is designed so that it rejects the sunlight. However, the lower part of that same panel is then designed to reflect the light back into the building. This system, as well as many other systems that the building has looked at, have got the building heading in the right track to try and achieve LEED Platinum rating. And to achieve that is something quite remarkable, let alone in a desert climate like the one we're in today. We're moving into a new era, and looking forward, there's an exciting number of buildings and projects coming up. The Louvre and Saadiyat Island in Abu Dhabi, a very large-scale, 180-meter span dome roof, which has amazing ability to shade external spaces, and it's much more about the external spaces and the spaces between the buildings, which harps back to traditional architecture. In Dubai, the design district is a very exciting space. It's going to be much more about artists, designers, fashion. It's more industrial, it's less flashy than what we've been looking at so far. And why I'm particularly interested in these buildings is it shows the onward progression, moving away from the signature buildings to the real sophisticated product that is going to be the UAE architecture of the future.
Neil van der Veen of the architects firm RMJM, guiding us through his favourite buildings here in the United Arab Emirates. Well, that's almost it from Middle East Business Report for this month. Before we go, though, let's see how the major markets performed this month. And remember, we'd love to hear from you. Our email address is middleeastbiz@bbc.co.uk. And you can go to Twitter and Facebook for the latest photos and news from our teams across the world. So, until next time, from me, Nima Abu Warde, and the rest of the team, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.